Imagine you are walking down the street one day and a group of government officials in regular clothes and masks detain you in a van. You are not given the opportunity to call a lawyer or maintain your innocence. Before you know it, you are on a flight and you don't know where you're going to. It turns out you're being sent to a prison in El Salvador that is notoriously internationally infamous for human rights abuses. Although you may think you don't need to worry about this because you're a United States citizen, if no due process is afforded, when will you have the opportunity to demonstrate that you are either a United States citizen or are here in this country legally? I have done an extensive amount of research on this topic, and it is a topic that I'm concerned about as a United States citizen. The goal of this presentation is to persuade my audience that even undocumented immigrants have the right to due process under the United States Constitution. In this presentation, I will cover the recent news regarding immigrants, explain what due process is, and address public opinion on the topic. In order to understand why this is a major controversy at the moment, let's discuss recent events to provide some context. First, I will talk about the issue itself, which is immigrants being sent to El Salvador without due process. On March 14, 2025, President Donald Trump issued Proclamation 10903 entitled Invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is a Venezuelan gang known for criminal activity. In this proclamation, President Trump declared that all Venezuelan citizens 14 years of age or older who are members of TDA are within the United States and are not actually naturalized or lawful permanent residents of the United States are liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. The order also purports to allow the president to remove alien enemies to any location. This is how certain undocumented immigrants ended up being flown to El Salvador. This is an issue for several reasons. First, the Alien Enemies Act assumes that there has been a declaration of war or an invasion by a foreign country. Second, many of these immigrants do not fit the exact parameters of the executive order. According to internal government documents obtained by CBS and 60 Minutes, only 22% of the Venezuelan men listed have criminal records in the United States or Venezuela, meaning that the majority of these men have no apparent criminal conviction or even charges. Moreover, there is a real question as to whether these men are actually members of TDA or not. One prominent example would be Andre Hernandez Ramiro, a 31-year-old gay Venezuelan makeup artist who left his home country last year due to being targeted because of his sexuality and political views. He had no criminal record in the United States or Venezuela. Ramiro was already in detention awaiting review of his asylum claim when he was believed to have been taken to El Salvador. Another prominent example would be the case of the Venezuelan professional soccer player Jersey Reyes Barrios. He claimed asylum in the United States due to alleged detainment and torture after he publicly demonstrated against Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. Agents from the Department of Homeland Security believed he was a member of Tren de Aragua because of his tattoo, which was actually of the logo of his favorite soccer team, Real Madrid. Since March 15th, his attorney and his family have not been able to contact him and have received no information about Barrios' condition. Finally, the case that has really sparked national outrage is the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran-born immigrant married to an American citizen living in Maryland, whom the Trump administration admitted was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. On April 10, 2025, the United States Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to the United States from the notorious El Salvador prison. Abrego Garcia was born in the capital city of San Salvador, but had to flee the country due to him and his family being constantly extorted, harassed, and threatened by a local gang called Barrio 18. Now, you might be wondering, what is due process? Let's look at what due process is in terms of the United States Constitution. Due process protects people against arbitrary government decisions and ensures fairness in all legal matters. Under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, both citizens and non-citizens have the right to due process. It is a fundamental right guaranteed by our Constitution. The Trump administration is currently taking actions that could be considered unconstitutional and violating the Fifth Amendment. They are denying non-citizens of Venezuelan descent any due process at all before deportation or transfer to El Salvador. Because the prisoners don't have access to any due process, it is unclear whether the people being sent to the prison are actually alien enemies under the proclamation or not. Indeed, it is unclear whether they are gang members or criminals at all. There is much controversy over immigration issues in the United States in general. A recent YouGov poll conducted found that over 60% of Americans disapprove of deporting immigrants without criminal convictions to El Salvador to be imprisoned without letting them challenge the deportation in court. Only 26% of Americans supported the deportation of non-criminals, and 13% of Americans were unsure. The issue regarding sending non-criminal immigrants to El Salvador is divided on political lines, with it being strongly opposed by 78% of Democrats, 45% of independents, and only 18% of Republicans. How can the United States government protect its citizens from immigrants who do commit crimes, while also making sure that innocent people don't get caught up in the political crossfire? Well, now that we know there's an issue, here are some things we can do to solve the problem. I propose the United States government provides due process to immigrants in the country they are being threatened with deportation and removal. This is required by the United States Supreme Court case law. In Donald J. Trump versus JGG, a recent decision regarding Venezuelan nationals being removed to El Salvador, the Supreme Court noted that the detainees are entitled to notice and opportunity to be heard. By providing due process prior to deportation, the United States can protect its citizens while ensuring that citizens or innocent undocumented immigrants don't mistakenly get deported. A major reform of the immigration system is needed to ensure that those seeking asylum in the United States are provided with decisions on their application quickly and fairly. This will ensure that immigrants who should not be allowed in the country are denied entry or deported back to their home country quickly. This will protect American citizens from potential criminal activity by undocumented immigrants. In conclusion, while we can't solve the country's immigration problems overnight, we can ensure that even undocumented immigrants get some due process before they're deported or removed from the United States. This will ensure that both American citizens and non-citizens are not inadvertently caught up in the political crossfires of the Alien Enemies Act. Thank you for listening today, and I hope you can take what you've learned and ask your federal representatives to ensure that all people in the United States receive due process before it is too late. Thank you.